Here is the story of how James fixed a bladder infection from hell by doing bladder ozone irrigations at home. My name is Paula, the crazy ozone lady from thepowerofozone.com, and I interviewed James, who was dealing with a very bad case of a bacterial infection in his urinary tract, which was resistant to antibiotics. James first tried all types of natural cures and remedies, and also tried drinking ozonated water and doing ozone saunas, but nothing really helped. He even tried antibiotics, but as it turned out, they only helped to a small degree and only temporarily. So then he finally decided, as a last resort, to do bladder irrigations with ozonated water, and he felt a dramatic improvement right after the first treatment. James' worst symptom was frequent urination during the night. He had to get up sometimes more than 10 times to go to the bathroom, which resulted in severe insomnia. This left him constantly tired during the day, which at the end cost him his job. James preferred to stay anonymous, so this is not his real name. And a disclaimer, this video is not meant to diagnose, treat, or prevent any disease. If you're sick, please consult your doctor, even if the doctor ends up giving you the same bad advice that James received. Now, take a listen.
It was infection that I contracted, and it went on, like you said, for a long time. It was a little bit on and off, and I tried every herb that I could get my hands on. Uva Ursi, D-Mannose, these cranberry juices, and lots of vitamin C. And what I saw was that when I went really hard with all this and drank a lot of water for trying to flush this bacteria, that I had some success, but it wasn't able to stop it, so it would come back even stronger, and it was extremely tiring. I had nights I would have to go more than 10 times to the bathroom, and it was a very stressful time. And I really do not want to use antibiotics. That's the reason for that is also because I had bad experience I used a lot of antibiotics about 15 years ago, and that set me back big time with my health. Before using a lot of antibiotics, I had a very strong digestion, but after using a lot of antibiotics for a year, I got many health problems. So it wasn't easy for me to do the antibiotics, but I felt desperate. So I ended up taking a course for 10 days with a pretty strong antibiotic, and it didn't really give much effect. It was a little bit less, but then I was desperate, and I went for the ozone water option with the catheter, and that was a big game changer. It went from I did 3 in a row, 3 consecutive days, and then it completely stopped.
Mm-hmm. So for how long was it going on, the infection, before you finally tried the bladder insufflations?
I would say more or less, I would say close to 7 weeks. It was very stressful time because was also in a new job, and a very demanding job, and yeah, it was a nightmare.
Right, so you said that it was actually so bad that you felt so sick that you actually lost your job over the infection. Is this correct?
Well, I wasn't able to perform to my normal standards. So yes, I think it's a part of it. Yeah, it was debilitating because long periods with basically almost no sleep. So
Almost no sleep because you had to get up during the night so
yes,
often to go.
correct.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Up to 10 times, you said, yes?
Yeah, sometimes even more. And every time you go, there is you can go back to bed again, and you have the urge. You feel like you have to go again. So it was a stressful, tiring experience, I have to say.
Mm-hmm. So, besides the frequent urination, did you also have the other typical symptoms like burning sensation or pain?
Little bit, not like too much. That would come and go a little bit. One of the reasons why I decided to go for this ozone treatment was I found a paper, a research paper, was describing how a female that she had a chronic UTI, and the way they resolved this was by inserting 250 ml, which makes sense because with that amount you will fill up the whole bladder, right? So I actually did another one just like a week ago, and then I had 200 ml, around that.
Mm-hmm.
But I only did one.
Okay, so explain to us exactly what you did and how you did. So, when you said water, so you basically used ozonated water to inject
Yes,
into your bladder, yes?
that's correct. I had it. I guess it's 75 gamma when you have like 30 minutes, 30-minute plus cold water to make sure that it's proper saturated. And then after inserting the catheter, I would insert the ozone water.
Okay, so you ozonated some water. So, it was regular water or was it saline?
It was water from the tap.
Water, okay, all right.
Yeah.
So, and then you inserted the catheter. And so, how was that? Because, there are a number of treatments that would call for catheter insertion. And especially male patients, I can imagine, are kind of apprehensive of that because this does not sound very comfortable. Uh, how was it? Was it very uncomfortable inserting the catheter, or was it okay? Or how did
I
you?
would have to say that thinking about it and seeing the size of these catheters, it was more. I honestly was worried and a bit afraid before doing it, and I had definitely some a strong resistance. But being desperate, I felt actually very lucky that I have the ozone equipment, the ozone generator, and that I have these things accessible. And I was very determined to do it, and it went actually pretty good. What I felt was so the body can be a little bit stressed when doing such a procedure. And what I felt helped me a lot to have the body to relax was to take a long warm shower before. That make the body more relaxed because it's at that moment when you're actually entering the bladder. That is a little bit tricky, and so that's a that can be a little bit challenging because it's already far in, but that little last bit, and for me it was to breathe, and that my body was relaxing, and then it came easier. Sometimes I couldn't continue. I had to take a new one, and yeah, it wasn't super easy, but learn quick.
Okay, what is it about that last part when the catheter enters the bladder? What was so special about that?
Uh, well, I guess it's for something that there is something there that needs to open or something. I don't know the exact term, but if you don't relax, you will not be able to enter.
Yeah, there's probably a muscle which needs to,
Probably yes.
yeah, right.
And it's a little bit stressful situation, of course. You're doing this procedure by yourself, so yeah, have taken a hot shower, or I saw on the internet they were recommending to cough, that will relax that muscle, and yeah, like just finding a good way to relax.
Mhm.
That's the key.
All right, so then you inserted the catheter and then you drew up 60 milliliters of ozonated water. Then you connected it with a catheter and just
Yep.
injected the water.
Yes, that's very easy.
Mhm,
As long as when the catheter is in, everything else is kind of easy. So
mhm.
yeah, that's straightforward.
Okay, but when you first insert the catheter into the bladder, then you will also there will be some urine coming out of the catheter first.
Yes, correct.
Mhm. Okay, so you need to let this drain, and
Yeah,
then you connect the syringe with the.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
All right. Okay. Right. Okay. And so you did this the very first time you did this. So what kind of effect did it have?
Well, that was the first night that I slept good for a long time, and the big difference was, I mean, there was a little bit of a strange sensation after down there after having just performed this thing. But that was a good night's sleep, and then I was thinking, based on that paper, I saw that they did it 3 consecutive days, so I decided that I will do that also. So I did it 3 consecutive days, and I had a great benefit from it. I would say that after around, I don't know, 7, 8, 9, 10 days, somewhere around there, it started coming a bit back. And I also realized, at that time, I realized that it was also connected to the food that I was eating. That can also influence that. For example, I eat spicy food. I eat these things, and this can be a irritation to the bladder. So I just went back on that, and that also helped. And yeah, I did here the other day. I did another one, which I just said when I injected around 200 mLs. It was a good effect from that. I haven't. I was supposed to do it 3 consecutive days, but I didn't do that. You know,
So
but I might do it one of these days if to do it proper, or maybe even do 4 or 5 days of this, fill it up totally.
so do you sleep through the night nowadays, or do you still wake up but just less often?
I sleep through the nights pretty good, but I believe that because it was an ongoing thing for such a long time, that it has that I maybe have contracted something like I believe the English word is like cystis,
Do you mean
something like that.
cystitis? So
Yes, cystitis. Sorry, yeah.
Mhm.
This is kind of new words for me, but because I do feel before the food that I ate pretty much every day, it didn't affect this, but now it does. So I have to pay attention, and I'm interested to do another round, like 3 to 5 consecutive days with a 200 ml, and see will that if that will maybe change it completely,
Mhm.
and if I can go back and eat that same food again. I don't know.
So when you say spicy food, so what spices does it contain exactly? Is it cayenne pepper, just black pepper,
No, it's
ginger?
it's more like a curry paste. It's yeah, it's something that I like to. Is Yeah, it's a favorite food for me to eat this kind of spicy foods. So
I believe.
there is a few things that they say if you have this cystitis, you should not eat. For example, spicy foods or strawberries, or there's quite a few things that you need to careful.
Uh-huh.
I also feel that if I eat carbs, that affects it.
Worse. It makes it worse, or how?
Makes it worse. Yeah.
Mhm. Interesting. All
So
right.
that could be that the carbs are feeding some bacteria. That's just my thought,
Mhm.
my hypothesis about that.
Right. Okay,
Yeah.
so just to recap, so you had this infection, this bladder infection that would not respond to any natural cures, it would not respond to antibiotics, and you really try to avoid antibiotics as long as possible because
Yes.
you were so yeah, critical. You were afraid of using antibiotics, but yet it was so bad, it was going on for so long that you finally did use antibiotics, and they did help a bit, but not really much. And when you stopped the antibiotics, the infection came back. Is this right?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, I would say that when I was using all the herbs and the vitamins and all the flushing and all that, it did have some effect, but it didn't have like it was
It was
one day
it
it
wasn't
was
lasting.
a bit better,
Uh-huh.
but it was definitely not cured. And then it would come back again the next day. So I was like we were just talking, I was really trying my best. I think it was about 6 weeks before I did antibiotics. With antibiotics, I felt it did get better, but it came back again.
Hmm.
And there was a strange, I mean, with the ozone, it was just gone right after.
Hmm. And you,
So it was,
but yeah, that's amazing. Okay, so with the bladder ozone insufflations, there was an immediate and drastic improvement in the symptoms.
yes, yes, right away. I didn't get that from, I mean, with antibiotics, it took quite I mean, I was taking this for 10 days, and at the last few days, it was starting to see some good results. But that's already 10 days of a systemic antibiotic, that is affecting your whole system. While when you are using this ozone, it's targeting the exact place. So yeah, I regret that I didn't just go straight for the ozone. I really wish I did,
Mhm.
and I wasn't brave enough. So yeah,
But in the end, the insertion of the catheter turned out to be not as bad as you thought it would be. Yes.
that's correct. That's correct. But I would say here, like, if somebody else is suffering from this condition, I would recommend them to seek medical advice, and to find a doctor or a nurse or something that has experience with ozone, and have them do it, because I believe there can be some complications, and you can get it's a procedure you have to take very seriously. You can get some new bacteria in there, like, and it has to be very sterile environment. And I don't believe it's for everybody, I have to say. And I don't want to like beat the drum that this is the way. I'm afraid to give health advices to people, but it was the turning point for me.
Yeah, this is a good point that needs to be really performed correctly and with super, super sterile supplies. And one has to
Yes.
be very careful how to do it in order not to make the infection worse afterwards.
Exactly, and it can also be that, and I mean, before doing all this, I went to give urine tests to the doctors, and they sent it in for what's it called? They were like harvesting those bacteria, and they saw they came with a bacteria that they said was resistant to antibiotics, so they were not so sure what to do. And but talking with the doctor too, he said that if there is an ongoing infection in the, I don't know if this is the right word, utera. I mean, you don't know where that could be. That also will not be good to insert a catheter.
Hmm.
So there is a lot of things you need to check out first. I mean, it's not the first solution. You have to do the right steps. And again, I'm not advocating this at all.
Mm-hmm.
Just sharing my story. And yeah,
Yeah.
this ozone has been good for me because I started using it about a year ago, doing a lot of ozone sauna, drinking ozone water. But I never thought that I would be doing a ozone catheter. Huh? I'm very happy to have this access to these things, I have to say. But yeah, I feel it's a big strength.
It's a big strength, so it's a plus, it's a benefit to have this. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, absolutely. And it's for me, I had a lot of chronic disease. It feels amazing to be able to just not having to go to the doctor because I feel often the doctor they have a lot of limitations, and it feels empowering to be able to yeah, to work on yourself, with your own time.
Right.
So that's a great thing, I feel.
But they did that bacterial culture and they saw that it was that the bacteria was resistant to antibiotics.
Oh yeah, that's correct.
That's interesting. All right. Well, okay. One more thing. So you also tried now before you did the bladder ozone insufflations. You also tried ozone saunas, and they didn't do much either, right?
No, I didn't. They didn't do much. I did that, and I also put that. Yeah, the on the area around the bladder. No, it didn't do much at all. It didn't.
You did cupping. Is this what you meant, or
No, not cupping, but I
you?
took
Oh, you put the
the
ozone.
ozone gas, from the hose
Uh,
and just
right. So
uh,
you directed the ozone while sitting in the sauna. You directed the ozone stream towards the bladder area. Is that what you mean?
correct,
Hmm.
correct, yeah.
And didn't do much, right?
No, I tried everything else that I could before doing that other one. So yeah.
Mhm. Well, this is an amazing story, and yeah, thinking about bladder and ozone insufflations, I would be very hesitant. I would also try first everything else before having to insert a catheter into my bladder. But it's good to know that it can be done, and that yeah, if you have your ozone equipment, that you have this option, right? To
Yes, yes. I feel very lucky to have the equipment. I have to say that was
But it's also kind of yeah, interesting to see how conventional medicine that it's really poor in dealing with infections oftentimes, not always. I mean, antibiotics do work in many
yeah, yeah.
cases, but in some cases that they're completely or mostly useless, right?
It's also a fact that a lot of the antibiotics is not really. I I think now they're more restrictive to give out antibiotics.
Hmm.
And when I was there was the first time my regular doctor he wasn't there, so I got another one, and I told him about that I was hesitant to take antibiotics, and then he said, "Well, usually we will give you these antibiotics for your symptoms." But I didn't take it, and then we haven't gotten the result back from the harvesting of these bacteria. So he was actually this doctor was recommending me to take antibiotic that wouldn't have any use for that bacteria too. So a caution to whoever listens to this is make sure that you taking the antibiotic for the right bacteria, so at least you don't have to take unnecessary antibiotics, right? Because it can do a lot of damage to your health.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think that antibiotics are actually much more dangerous than conventional medicine admits or is even aware of.
yeah, like I said initially, that I had a super digestion. Like I could eat a rock and digest it. I could eat late in the night. I had a lot of energy when I was growing up. I didn't have one sick day. I think the first 7 8 years of school, like I was there always, and since taking a lot of antibiotics, I started getting chronic problems, related to digestion. And I also took a lot of these antacids because that's what they give you when you have. But it turned out later that I was actually lacking acid. So I had it's been a bumpy journey for quite a while, and but it's also been a steep learning curve. So I learn a lot, and I think my family has benefited from that. And I learn a lot from you too about ozone. I appreciate that a lot. So yeah, it's another very important tool in my toolbox.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I hope that whoever will listen to this will hopefully learn something too, something that may be useful.
Yeah, and I think like we were talking about just recently, is that you can actually apply the ozone to the direct area where it's affecting you. I think that's a very powerful thing. You don't have to, if you take an oral antibiotic, right, is affecting your whole system. But in this case, it's targeting the area that needs it.
Right. That's a good point. Right, exactly. Yeah. All right, James. I think that's all that I wanted to know. So let's end here, and thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you as well, Paula. Always nice to talk to you.